Why does true freedom often feel like loneliness at first? It's a question that rattles the soul, especially when we crave independence, yet feel the isolation that follows. Freedom, what we often dream of as the ultimate escape from the constraints of life, can initially be a space filled with emptiness, solitude, and even discomfort. This isn't the kind of freedom we've been conditioned to think about: freedom from work, from obligation, from schedules. True freedom is something deeper, something more profound. It is not about being free to do anything you wish. It's about being free from the invisible chains you've placed around yourself. Freedom means letting go of the roles you've been playing, the personas you've worn for the sake of others, and the constraints society has programmed into your consciousness. But here's the paradox. In this moment of liberation, there's a void, a sense of being disconnected from everything and everyone that once defined you. At first, freedom can feel like a loss, a loneliness of sorts. But this isolation is not a sign that you've lost your way. It is a sign that you are shedding the layers of what you thought you were to reveal the core of who you truly are. Alan Watts, in his reflections on freedom, often described it as the process of letting go, not running away. True freedom, he said, is found in embracing life's flow, even when it seems unfamiliar and unsettling. Part 2. What true freedom really means. True freedom is more than just a lack of external constraints. It's not about escaping the rules and responsibilities of the world. It's about releasing the inner limitations that we create for ourselves. We often think of freedom as the ability to do whatever we want, to go wherever we please without any interference. But Alan Watts, drawing from Eastern philosophies like Taoism and Buddhism, offers a different view. Freedom is not the absence of control, but the release from the illusion of control. Freedom is the awareness that you are not bound by societal expectations or the judgment of others. It's the realization that you are not defined by your job, your status, your possessions, or even the people around you. It's the space to be fully yourself, without the need for validation. Taoism teaches that true freedom arises when we stop fighting against the natural flow of life. We stop trying to control the river, and instead we let ourselves float along with it. When we let go of our resistance to life as it is, we experience a kind of freedom that's not defined by action or outcome. It's a state of being, of presence. True freedom, according to Watts, is also about facing your fears: fear of judgment, fear of being alone, fear of the unknown. And when you face these fears, you find that they are not as threatening as you once believed. Freedom is about embracing the uncertainty, the solitude, and the emptiness as a part of your journey, not something to avoid. Part 3. Separation from the collective. As you begin to free yourself from the expectations of society, you will inevitably feel a sense of separation. This separation is not about rejecting others. It's about letting go of the ways in which you have been tethered to the collective mindset. In a world where we are taught to conform, to blend in, and to seek approval from others, stepping away from that system can be deeply unsettling. When you start to shed the labels that society has placed on you, whether it's your profession, your family role, or even the way you dress and speak, there will be moments when you feel disconnected, as though you no longer fit into the world around you. But this is not a loss. It is the first step toward reconnecting with your true self. Eastern wisdom teaches us that we are all part of a greater whole. But to realize this, we must first understand that our individual nature must be unburdened by external influences. This process of separation is not about isolation in a negative sense, but about rediscovering the essence of who you are beyond the roles you've been assigned. In Buddhism, this concept is known as the removal of the self, not to diminish yourself, but to clear away the clutter and find the true self beneath. You may feel as though you are standing apart from the collective, but in reality, you are simply rediscovering the connection to your own deeper nature. This journey is one of liberation, of reclaiming your own authenticity and recognizing that your true self can exist in harmony with the world without needing to conform. Part 4. The loneliness of self, discovery. As you move further along the path of freedom, you may encounter an intense feeling of loneliness. This loneliness, however, is not the same as isolation. It's the loneliness that comes from shedding the identities and roles that once gave you comfort and security. It is a necessary part of the process of self-discovery. Before you embark on the journey to true freedom, you may have sought validation from others, family, friends, colleagues, society. Your worth may have been measured by how well you fit into the molds that others created for you. Letting go of this dependency on others for your sense of self can feel like an emotional void, a vast emptiness. But it's crucial to recognize that this emptiness is not a sign of loss, it is a sign of liberation. Existentialism teaches us that we must face the void of existence in order to live authentically. This void, or nothingness, is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It's the space where we can create meaning for ourselves without relying on external sources. In this way, the loneliness you feel is actually a profound opportunity, a chance to reconnect with yourself on a deeper level, free from the projections and expectations of others. It's through this process of confronting the discomfort of loneliness that you can begin to redefine who you are, to rebuild yourself from the ground up. In doing so, you will realize that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel complete. This journey of self-discovery can be daunting, but it is also one of the most empowering steps you can take towards true freedom. Part 5. The liberation of letting go of dependency. There comes a pivotal moment in the journey to true freedom when you realize that the need for others' approval no longer serves you. You may have lived most of your life dependent on the opinions, validation, and acceptance of those around you. But as you let go of this dependency, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. This liberation comes when you stop seeking external validation to define your worth. The wisdom of Alan Watts echoes here. True freedom is found in no longer needing the approval of others, because your sense of self is no longer built on external feedback. It's a shift from the constant pursuit of recognition to a deep inner knowing that you are enough as you are. In Buddhism, this idea is captured by the concept of non-attachment, the understanding that attachment to things, people, or outcomes leads to suffering. Dependency on others for your sense of self-worth is one of the strongest forms of attachment. When you release this attachment, you free yourself from the cycle of seeking constant validation, which ultimately leads to inner peace and self-empowerment. The moment you stop fearing the judgment of others, you realize that the opinions of others are merely reflections of their own fears and insecurities. They do not define you. You are no longer a product of societal expectations or others' desires. You are a free individual, standing firm in your own identity. This is the essence of true independence, the freedom to be who you are, without needing anyone else's permission. Part 6. The Void of Freedom. As you strip away the layers of dependency and societal expectations, you may find yourself confronting an unsettling emptiness. This void is what true freedom feels like at first: unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and even disorienting. You may have expected freedom to feel exhilarating, a release from all constraints. But in reality, the first experience of freedom is often filled with an emotional vacuum, a sense of being untethered. At first, it can feel as though you've lost your place in the world. Without the social roles and external identities that once gave you purpose, you might feel lost, disconnected, or even aimless. But here lies the paradox. This void is not a loss. It is the fertile ground for rebirth. In this empty space, you have the opportunity to redefine yourself, to create new meaning and direction. Eastern philosophies, particularly Taoism, emphasize the importance of emptiness and space in the natural world. The Tao teaches that the power of a cup is not in its shape, but in its emptiness. It is the empty space within the cup that makes it useful. Similarly, it is the empty space in your life, the void, after you let go of external labels, that offers you the opportunity to fill it with your authentic self. The fear of this emptiness is natural, but it is also essential. It is a necessary phase on the path to true freedom. Embrace the void, for it is in this space that you will find the freedom to rebuild, to grow, and to discover who you truly are, unburdened by the weight of external expectations. Part 6. Embracing Solitude. To find true freedom, You must learn to embrace solitude, not as a state of being alone, but as a powerful tool for personal growth. Solitude is often misunderstood. It's not about being isolated from the world, but about reconnecting with your inner self. In the silence and stillness of solitude, you are given the chance to discover who you are beyond the noise of others' expectations and societal pressures. Solitude is not a punishment. It's an opportunity for reflection and self-discovery. When we are constantly surrounded by people, distractions, and external influences, it becomes difficult to hear our own thoughts, desires, and truths. Solitude allows you to listen to your inner voice, the one that has been drowned out by the clamor of the outside world. Taoism teaches that the natural world operates in solitude. The trees grow alone in their own space, the rivers flow without interference. In this sense, solitude is a return to our true nature, a state of being in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. It is through solitude that we can clear away the distractions and rediscover our purpose. Furthermore, solitude is the key to cultivating inner peace and self-reliance. As you learn to be comfortable with yourself, you stop needing external validation, and you begin to trust your own judgment and intuition. Alan Watts often spoke about the power of solitude in finding your authentic self. He argued that when you are alone, you are free from the impositions of society, and you can come into alignment with the deeper aspects of your existence. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the space where you can reconnect with your essence. It's in this quiet, unspoken place that true freedom is nurtured, and from here you can move forward, not seeking others' approval, but trusting in your own path. Part 8. The inner independence that comes with freedom. True freedom is not the absence of societal constraints, but the presence of inner independence. When you begin to live authentically, shedding the need for others' approval, you experience a profound shift. No longer bound by the desire for external validation, you find that your sense of worth comes from within, not from the praise or judgment of others. This is the heart of true freedom, the ability to stand in your own truth without fear of what others might think. Alan Watts beautifully encapsulated this idea when he described freedom as the realization that you are the dance and not the dancer. In other words, you are not the roles you play, the masks you wear, or the labels society imposes upon you. You are the essence beneath it all, the energy that moves through life freely and without restraint. This awareness of your true self allows you to let go of the constant struggle to please others and embrace a life guided by your own values and desires. Buddhism teaches that liberation comes when we break free from the attachments and cravings that cause suffering. Attachment to the approval of others is one of the most insidious forms of craving. It keeps us bound to a cycle of seeking external recognition, never fully satisfied. But once we break free from this cycle, we begin to feel a profound sense of peace and self-sufficiency. We realize that our worth is not contingent on others' opinions, and we no longer rely on outside sources to feel validated. True independence does not mean isolation, nor does it mean rejecting others. It means that you no longer seek your identity in relation to others. You are enough as you are, and this inner peace allows you to engage with the world from a place of authenticity and strength. You can now live freely, not out of a need for validation, but from a place of pure self-expression. ChatGPT Danoi. Part 9. The return to wholeness after solitude. After the initial loneliness, emptiness, and separation, you may start to feel a sense of wholeness. True freedom is not about running away from the world, but about becoming more integrated with it, not from a place of need or approval, but from a place of inner truth. Once you embrace solitude and inner independence, you begin to feel a deeper connection to yourself and, paradoxically, to others. In the beginning, you might have felt as if you were disconnecting from the world. But as you continue on your journey, you begin to realize that what you are truly reconnecting with is your own essence. The feeling of separation was not an end, but a new beginning, an opportunity to experience the world from a new perspective, one that is not clouded by the need for external validation. Alan Watts often spoke of the interconnectedness of all things. He argued that the idea of separation is merely an illusion, one that we create through our attachments and beliefs. Once we let go of these attachments, we experience the interconnectedness of life, not as something to be understood intellectually, but as a lived experience. As you rediscover yourself, you will notice that your relationships with others become more authentic. You no longer need to conform to others' expectations, and you no longer need to prove your worth. Instead, you can engage with others from a place of deep understanding and acceptance, both of yourself and them. This is true freedom, not a solitary existence, but a life lived in harmony with yourself and the world around you. The wholeness that comes after solitude is not a return to the old ways, but a rebirth, a new way of engaging with the world that comes from a place of inner peace, authenticity, and freedom. This wholeness is a result of integration, of fully embracing yourself and the world without the need for approval or validation. You are no longer fragmented by external expectations, but whole and at peace in your own being. Part 10. Freedom's True Nature. As we journey through the phases of freedom, from isolation to inner independence and back to connection, we uncover a deeper truth about the nature of freedom itself. True freedom is not the absence of obligations or external expectations. It is the presence of alignment with your authentic self. It is a freedom from the need for validation, and it is the peace that arises from accepting and expressing who you truly are. Many of us seek freedom in the external world, thinking that it lies in material wealth, social approval, or the ability to do whatever we want. But true freedom, as Alan Watts and Eastern philosophies suggest, lies within. It's the freedom from the self-imposed constraints, the beliefs, and the societal constructs that bind us. When you live authentically, free from the need to conform, you discover that freedom is not about escape, but about embracing life exactly as it is. So, does freedom make you feel lonely at first? Or is it the space for you to reconnect with your true essence, your authentic self? The loneliness that comes with freedom is not something to fear. It is the fertile ground for self-discovery, personal growth, and spiritual awakening. As you move forward in your journey, remember, true freedom is not about the absence of connection, but about the ability to connect with the world from a place of inner peace and authenticity. It's about being fully yourself without the need for anyone's approval. And that, in itself, is the most profound connection you can ever have. Now, I invite you to reflect. Are you ready to embrace the solitude that leads to true freedom, to step away from the validation, seeking cycle, and live authentically? The path to freedom begins with letting go of the need for others' approval and finding your own truth. Share your thoughts with us. Let's explore this journey of freedom and isolation together.